Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we are going to talk about whether you should begin dungeon mastering Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition for a dog. All right, so why are we talking about this today? That's an unusual topic, right? Yes, it is. So I was very blessed yesterday to have a really wonderful day off. It's getting near the end of the year, you got to use them vacation days. So I had a great day with my wife. We got breakfast in the morning. Watched a fun movie together, and I did something yesterday that I'd never done before. So a few months ago, a friend of our family got into a situation where they got a job where they were going to be out of the house. They had previously been at home when they were working, and then now they have a job where they have to go on site every day, Monday through Friday, right? So they came to us and they're like, hey, I got this dog. His name is Waffles. He is a German Shepherd Corgi mix, right? And I just want to explain what this dog looks like to you. It'd be like if you were going to, like, let's say you're nice and, it's the winter time and it's cold and you have a fireplace and you take a big log, right, and that you're about to throw in the fire. You just hold it up, right? If you stuck 4 Milky Ways on the bottom of that and gave it some felt ears, that's what Waffles looks like. He looks like a log that somebody stuck 4 Milky Ways on at the bottom. Right, he is incredibly cute. He's very kind. I met Waffles for the first time yesterday. I'd never met Waffles before, but yesterday, because I had the day off on a Monday through Friday, I was able to go and see what my wife does. So we had discussed this months ago, and we're like, do we want to help this person out? They're a friend of the family, and we're like, yeah, let's do it. We're gonna help this person out, right? So twice a day, like, my wife goes over in the morning, walks Waffles, gives him a treat, tracks his what he does outdoors, like number 1, number 2 wise, puts that onto a board, gives him a treat, right? Rubs his belly, and then goes back later in the day and repeats the process, right? And gives a strong line of communication to the dog's owner how the dog is doing, how Waffles is doing. So I go over and I meet Waffles. We exchange pleasantries, and basically, I'm in Waffles' home, right? Like, now he has a master, but it really kind of belongs to Waffles, I think. He has the run of the place. And I'm learning everything my wife does twice a day that I have never seen before, right? I'd heard about Waffles, but I'd never met Waffles, right? So we're there, and the big 55-inch television is on at the far end of the wall, right? Waffles, we've exchanged our pleasantry. He walks over, he sits down on the floor, and he looks up at the television, right? And I was like, wait, what's happening? And I was like, the owner forgot the television on. My wife goes, no, he didn't forget the television. That television is on for Waffles. Waffles is watching this show, right? And at this point, Waffles goes, woof, at the screen. And I look at the screen, I'm like, why did Waffles, give this little yip, right? And the reason he gave this little yip was this squirrel on the screen had taken a nut and was starting to chew it, right? And I was like, is Waffles watching this show on YouTube? And my wife's like, yeah, Waffles watches YouTube every day. And I was like, wait, I'm a YouTube creator. Does Waffles watch my channel? And she says, I can assure you, Waffles has never watched your channel. And I was like, well, what's this channel that's getting Waffles viewership? Right? Why ain't Waffles over on my channel, right? And my wife is like, hey, this is a special channel made just for dogs. And this is Waffles' favorite dog channel. I would say, what do you mean favorite dog channel? How many dog channels are there? She goes, there's dozens. And there's hundreds of videos that Waffles can watch. They run for about 8 hours. And I was like, what? There are YouTube videos that run for 8 hours that are made just for dogs? And she goes, of course, right? Dogs are major YouTube viewers now. And I was like, what? I did not know this. I did not know that I'm a YouTube creator, and I've been making YouTube content for humans like a sucker. I didn't even know there was this whole other dog viewership, right? So first of all, YouTube content is now being made for dogs, okay? They are consuming and viewing YouTube content, right? So YouTube has a dog viewership. It is a dog YouTube community that watches content on YouTube, right? I was completely unaware. I had no idea this was happening, and I was just shocked to find this out, right? And so I left really just kind of shocked, and I left very pleasantly surprised that my new friend Waffle, my relationship is growing with Waffles. Like I have a new friend in my life. His name is Waffles. I'm very happy about that, right? You never want to ignore when you get a new friend, right? So I go back and I'm like, these people are making content, YouTube, for dogs, right? And I was like, should I make content for dogs? And I was like, well, wait a second. YouTube ain't my favorite thing in the world. My favorite thing in the world, when it comes past my core responsibilities of Christian husband and father, is Dungeons and Dragons. I was like, wait a second. Should I run Dungeons and Dragons for Waffles? Right? And I was like, and then it brought me to the bigger question that we're talking about today. Should we, as the Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition community, choose to begin to run Dungeons and Dragons for dogs? Okay? Let's talk about it. All right. So, one, Waffles. So I'm going to talk about my experience with Waffles and whether I'm going to run Dungeons and Dragons for Waffles. But I think we can extend it to the larger dog community, right? And, we're all smart enough to fill in the gaps where there might be a gap between Waffles and the dog community overall, right? So first of all, Waffles is he's a wealthier class than me. He lives a much more rich, robust life than I do, right? So one, Waffles has everything. Like, he has one parent, and that parent gives him everything he could possibly want. Rich, robust content to watch each day. The very, very best dog food that can be bought. He has arranged for my wife to take care of him twice a day when there's no one there for him, right? To be walked, to have his belly rubbed, to get 2 different types of treats through the day. He gets the best medical attention. Waffles is an incredibly privileged dog, right? So I was kind of like, first of all, I'm not sure Waffles needs more, right? But then I thought about it. Like, Gary Gygax in 1974 created unbound identity and unbound immersion, right? The ability for us to live additional lives, right? And I realized, as rich and privileged as Waffles is, he's still in that same sad state that many humans are today, where he only lives one life. He doesn't have multiple lives to live. He doesn't have, additional player characters where he can explore gender, where he can explore preference, where he can explore different personalities for himself, right? He doesn't have those things, right? He is a wealth class privileged dog. But you know what? The other thing is he's also stuck with bound immersion, right? All the content he's watching, it's not made for him. It's not made for Waffles. It's made for a whole bunch of dogs who like to watch squirrels, right? And I'm kind of like, I don't want him to be stuck like most humans are today, watching bound content that's bound by budget and bound by time, right? So the real legacy of Gary Gygax is unbound identity, unbound immersion, right? Is that only for humans? It's a really big question. So one, I had to struggle with Waffles being such a privileged, like, wealth class dog. But I was like, he's still a dog, right? And even though, and he isn't even, like, he doesn't wear his privilege and his wealth the way other dogs do. I think he is a little more connected and understands that a lot of other dogs don't have this wealth class, right? He also interacts with cats outside of where he lives, and people leave food out for these cats, and like, these are feral cats. So I think he has a very strong understanding that not all animals live with the privilege and comfort that he has, right? And I was thinking, at the end of the day, he's just a dog. He does have all this privilege and all this wealth, but the reality is he's still just a dog. And honestly, the more I think about it, I think Gary Gygax, because he was such a special, wonderful person, I don't think he would have limited unbound identity and unbound immersion to humans alone. I think Gary's true legacy was inclusion, right? He wanted everybody to play his game. He never erected, his primary goal was not erecting obstacles to who played Dungeons and Dragons, right? So I think the real legacy of Gary Gygax would include unbound identity, unbound immersion for dogs. So I think at the macro level, right, we as Dungeon Masters should absolutely begin running Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition for dogs. I think we needed to take this journey to determine if it was appropriate, right? Is it a good use of time? Is it a good use of resource? And the reality is, humanity is the most important species on this planet. But we as humans really need to give, I think, love and care and kindness to all species, right? And right now, I don't think many dogs are having Dungeons and Dragons run for them. It's, in fact, I've never met a dog that has an active Dungeons and Dragons campaign where they're playing a player character that they're genuinely engaged with. So I think this is definitely a problem we as the Dungeons and Dragons community, Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition community, can solve, right? We can help these, dogs who are still stuck with bound identity and bound immersion, right? We don't want humans to have to deal with bound identity and bound immersion. We want them to really have the full, robust life that Gary Gygax unlocked for everyone in 1974, right? With unbound identity and unbound immersion, right? Stories that are not bound by how much money you have, how much time it's going to take you to get that story through your editor, right? We don't want any dogs to have to just live their one dog life. We want them to be able to, to run a half-orc cleric, or we want them to be able to run to live the life of a water genasi bard, right? And so I think as a D&D community, we should commit to this. We should commit to making sure that more dogs have Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition available to them so that they can begin their journey, so that dogs can begin their journey with unbound identity and with unbound immersion. That's my opinion. What do you think? Do you have plans to identify a dog that really would be blessed by unbound identity and unbound immersion, Gary Gygax's true legacy, and that Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, you can run that for a dog starting soon? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.